Lucy Edwards, Director of Client Success at VHT Studios and now Metaport. And today I am at Howard Hanna and Realty, and my guest is Joe Rand, and he is Chief Creative Officer at Howard Hanna and Realty, as well as professional public speaker and an author of 2 beautiful books.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, I try to pull together 2 or 3 jobs to make one job that occupies me full time. But it's been great because, you know, once we affiliated with Howard Hanna 2 years ago, I got out of some of the day-to-day of the real estate business. I don't do the legal work anymore, which is great, which frees up time to do. I consult for some companies in the industry. I do some speaking at events and things like that. And I'm having a bit of fun sort of really engaging with the industry and kind of doing some new stuff.
Well, you're also involved in the company anyway with different acquisitions. You strategize, and your brother, it's a family business.
It's a family business. My brother is CEO, and because he's younger than me and got to be CEO, he gave me the opportunity to make up my title. That's why I'm the Chief Creative Officer. I'm like the only Chief Creative Officer in the real estate industry that I know of. So it's totally made up, but it kind of defines what I do because I do big events, I come up with marketing materials, I strategize, I'm the analyst for the company and things like that, which really interests me. I mean, here's the thing, it takes time to figure out what you're good at and what you like to do, and hopefully what you like to do and what you're good at, there's overlap. And what I like to do is create stuff. And what I'm good at is creating stuff. And so the more time I spend every day, every week, creating, coming up with stuff, communicating it to people, is a good day at the office. So I try to do more of that and less legal work like I used to have to do.
And you have great, rich history of the company. The company is about 40 years old, and you've been involved for about 20. I've known you for at least 16.
Yeah, we've known each other for a while, and in all the various incarnations of both. You've worked at various companies, and we've been affiliated with various companies. You know, we are our iteration with Howard Hanna and Realty. It's the 4th. We used to be Century 21, we used to be Prudential, we used to be Better Homes and Gardens. All 3 wonderful affiliations that really changed the company, made the company better. This is the last one because now we're with Howard Hanna and they're partners in the company with us, so we'll be with them for forever. And it's been great because they're great partners. They're real estate people. They know real estate. And they give us a lot of autonomy as we're partners with them to do what we need to do, expand into Connecticut. We're expanding into other places in New Jersey and New York. It's been great. It's been great.
Yeah, and we are enjoying being part of it as well since we're working together on different photography initiatives and so on. And speaking of photography initiatives, you were always about professional photography, professional, robust marketing strategy for every property. I've been with you at different presentations where you showed slides of agents' photos versus professional photos, and they were really funny with people in bed and so on. That was funny.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that you need to set yourself apart when you're a listing agent or a buyer agent. But as a listing agent, the way you set yourself apart is with the content that you create. And I think it's entirely possible that an agent can build the skills to be a professional photographer. And if they do that, God bless them. That's great. If you can do it yourself, you save money and you really know the property, it's fantastic. But most agents don't know how to take pictures. They don't even know how to use their camera properly. And my feeling is the learning curve on how to be a great photographer is steep enough that the average agent, most agents, the vast majority of agents, are much better off getting professional photography for their listings, focusing their time on doing other things like going and getting more listings and doing the marketing, doing the sales that they do on a day-to-day basis, and differentiate themselves with the fact that they have professional photography on every listing and that they don't spend their time doing that, and their photography looks better than everybody else's, and they then spend the time doing the other things that can differentiate themselves in the marketplace. I mean, what I always say, listen, this is my mantra. I'll say this to audiences all the time. What is your luxury marketing package? Okay, now do that for everybody. Do that for everybody. Luxury marketing, oh, they get professional photography, they get floor plans, they get nice brochures and things like that. Okay, and that's because they're over $1 million or over 800,000 or over $1.5 million, whatever your price point is. So you do that for them. The person paying you who's got a $400,000 house, who's paying you X percent, which might be $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 as a commission for selling that house, you can't spend $400 to market it, to make it really stand out?
And
Like,
it's also,
that's crazy.
It is indeed, and it's also investment in yourself, in your tomorrow's listing presentation. And even if the market is so great that you can sell everything by noon tomorrow, you have to show what you just did.
Yeah, I hear that all the time, the idea that, well, the market was hot. Well, I don't even need to do the marketing because the listing sells in 3 days. Well, first of all, you do the marketing not just for the current seller. You do it as an advertisement for other sellers in the market, what a good job you do when they see your marketing, as well as then exemplars for your next listing presentation. So that's one thing. The other thing is, you're not going to tell me, and I'm not going to buy the fact that you say, well, it's sold in 3 days for the exact price it would have sold for whether or not I did any kind of marketing. Because I really do think that marketing and staging makes a difference in pricing. And so you want to tell me that, well, if you had spent $400 marketing it or maybe $1,000 doing some staging on it, would have gotten you another half a point on the purchase price? Half a point on the purchase price in my market is, $5,000. And so it's worth doing it. And Lucy, I just want to be clear. It'll be clear to the people watching. I say this whether or not you're around. I say you always ask me the questions, but I'll say this in every audience I'm in front of: do the luxury marketing program for every listing. You can afford it. These clients deserve it. It will make you look better and it'll make the company look better and all that. And I really do believe that. I think we need to provide a better level of service to the clients we work with, or we're going to get displaced by disruptors who can do a lot of things that an agent can do remotely, but they can't stage, and they often can't do good marketing, pictures and things like that with themselves on their own. They need an agent on site to be able to, work with a photographer to find the right angles and things like that, and what's going to sell in this market. So I really do believe it, and it's one of the hallmarks of what I tell people is treat this like a business. You are a professional, and you're a professional marketer. As a professional marketer, if you're working on Madison Avenue and you're an advertiser, and you're someone who runs the advertising campaign, you don't run the camera. You don't make a commercial and you're like, okay, I'm going to write the commercial and I'm going to run the camera and I'm going to manage the lights. No, you write the commercial, you design the commercial, and then you let professionals handle it. That's the way agents have to think about it. People are hiring you to do a professional job.
And that's what I always say.
And that's what you have to do.
If I am selling my property and I'm inviting a professional realtor to take care of my property and present it the way that it should be presented, I expect them hiring professionals as well. Otherwise, I can just do it myself. I can also take my own pictures if that's what it takes. But that is so wrong. And I so appreciate your approach and everything you have to say. Now, since we are part of Metaport, I would love to talk to you about Metaport. You were the first company in your area who believed in Metaport so much that you incorporated the scans and that marketing tool in just
we got one of the
every
first cameras.
listing.
We got one of the first cameras that they sold right in this market right here.
And we were the backup because your technician was not able to catch up with how many listings you
That's
had
right.
and how many
That's
Metaports
right.
you had to
Yeah.
do. So we were your
We bought the
backup.
camera and then we went with you. That's right.
And then
That's
you
right.
went with us, and we were just as busy as your cameraman. So let's talk a little bit about that and your personal experience and why did you believe in Metaport?
I was lucky enough back, it has to be now maybe 2012, 2013, that I was a judge at the first Forward conference that Realty held, where they brought in 15 startups and had them compete for a $25,000 prize, and I was one of the judges.
Oh.
And I can remember when this technology was first displayed to the audience, it was like they showed it, and everybody in the audience was like, "Are you kidding me? You can actually do this?" I mean, the only comparison point I had was to play a video game like Doom. Was these walkthroughs where you would walk around, and instead of shooting things, it was a walk around a house, looking up, looking down, looking inside. I was absolutely dumbfounded by it. So that's why we got one of the first cameras. Was that I was one of the first to ever see it when I was the judge at that conference. Lucky enough to do that, and then I just think that the walkthrough is one of the most powerful pieces of marketing that we have. And again, I say this to people all the time, not just when you're here. It is amazing how engrossing it is. And I don't think agents realize it, because agents, unless they've sold their house, unless they've been bought a house and use Matterport as a buying tool, they just don't know because they don't realize how much more engrossing it is, even than the best photography. And I think great photography is a necessity, but I think that the photography draws you in, and if you see a Matterport and you click on it and you start walking through the house, I will tell you, I've had two funny things I'll tell you about Matterport. One is the house I now live in, I bought in 2015, and we listed it, my company, Rand Realty, and the agent had a Matterport for it. And after I bought it, I asked the people at the marketing company, I said, we have only so many slots of Matterports. I said, keep a slot for this Matterport. I want this Matterport eternally available to me. So it's still available to me, and I still use it at least once a month. Sometimes I just want to look at it to see how nice the house looked when it was staged, as before my kids moved in and ruined it, and me. I moved in and ruined it too. But I've used it for things like, I want a measurement of a room, or I want to see. Once I went to go look at it to see, I saw a crack in the ceiling. I'm like, was that here before? And I looked at the Matterport. I looked up to see if no crack. So the crack was new. And so I use it for that. I also have had the experience as a buyer recently of buying a place in Manhattan, buying an apartment, and I looked at I don't know how many units I looked at, but when it came down to like 2, they both happened to have Matterports, and the others mostly did not. But I sat there and I would look and I would look and I would stare, to the point that when I went into the house to see it for the first time, I said to the agent, "Oh, they moved that." She's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Well, in the Matterport, it was like a wire that had moved from one place to the other." And she was like, "How do you know that?" I'm like, "I study. I'm not schlepping into the city to go look at a property unless I have walked through every inch of that property. I know where the plugs are. I look at stuff like that. And now I'm still using the Matterport of the place I bought because we're buying furniture. So I use the measurement tool all the time to measure for furniture. And I also will bring the Matterport when I'm looking with the designer that works at the furniture place. I show him and say, "Well, listen, here's what the room looks like. Here's the floor, here's the height, here's the width, here's the room sizes." So we work with them on like trying to make sure the furniture will harmonize with the floors and with the mantle and everything like that. It is to me it's the best thing that's ever come to real estate marketing, and I would use it for any house or any property that was big enough. It's not, if it's a small studio, you're just not going to get any value out of it. But anything that's big enough, I mean, a house, a luxury, a vacation home. The people who do vacation homes, someone in New York is looking. They want to know whether they should fly down to Florida to go look at this house. Well, the way they're going to know to do that is whether it's got a Matterport. I really believe that, and I've been saying it for, almost 10 years now. And I've gotten occasionally yelled at. The clients at the beginning yelled at me like, "Oh my God, people can see, the inside of my house." I remember getting those complaints. Somebody would say, "Oh my God, they see like my pictures on the walls." I'm like, and now Matterport's done it. They blur that out now. That's all. I'll blur all that stuff out. But back then they didn't. And they call me up and, "Oh, this is terrible. People can see." I'm like, these are people that are going to go visit your house. And it's not like we're giving them the alarm code. Like they're going to be inside your house looking. What's wrong with this? And I think people have gotten over that over time. But I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. I still am amazed at it. And I discover new things about it all the time. Like I flip the house around and I'm looking at it from the side angle so I can see how the ceiling heights are different. And I mean, I'm just a junkie when it comes to Matterport. I really am. I really am.
And I like how you mentioned vacation properties. I totally get it. From Manhattan to fly all the way to Florida, that's very difficult. But from Manhattan or from North Jersey to go to South Jersey and travel in traffic for 3 hours, that's also painful.
Like I said, I loved having the Matterports in Manhattan. I live 40 minutes from Upper West Side, which is the place I bought on the Upper West Side. I live about 40 minutes from there. And I didn't want to schlep in to see every property. And I screened out a lot of them from the photos. I screened out a lot of them from the layouts. I screened out a lot of them from all the various things. I don't remember screening anything out that had the Matterport. I just remember the Matterport drawing me in to want to see it, want to go see it.
So here is the question to you. Would you say that photography grabs your attention and makes you think about the property, and then Matterport closes the deal?
Well, yeah, I think there's no question that you're scrolling, on homes.com or whatever site you're using, Realty.com to look at properties, that a great first photo, a creative first photo grabs you and gets you in. And then great photography, you look at the photos. The Matterport doesn't, I'm not scrolling and saying, oh, this one has a Matterport, let me look at it. They're grabbing me with the photo. They're grabbing me with the front shot. It's like, listen, it's like I've been married now almost 20 years, so I don't use any of the dating apps. But my experience understanding from friends who are using the dating apps, most of them working on husband or wife number 2 at this point, but they're using, Kettle Fish or whatever the other one, I don't even know, whether the Tinder or whatever. It's the same principle. That first photo, man, it pulls you in. That first photo, it's got to be perfect. And you click on the photos and you find out more. Oh, there's a Matterport. There's no Matterport, obviously, of a Tinder profile, but there's other stuff in the Tinder profile that drags you. But it's the photo that grabs you, and that's why that first photo is so important. I actually just literally recently corrected an agent who took a listing in my where I live in Nyack, New York. They took a listing there. And I knew the house, and I didn't like the front photo. I said, don't take a street photo. You got it. And I looked through her photos, and she had an elevated photo, obviously a drone photo, later on, which was wonderful. It showed the water. It showed the house from, an angle. It showed the whole house. She had the curb appeal of the house was not great because the house is a waterfront house. So where does the house look best? It looks best from the water. So use the photo from the water, and then I saw the listing a week later, and she had changed them, and it jumped out. It jumped off the page or the screen in a way that it had not before. Makes a difference. Makes a difference.
Thank you for that feedback.
Well, it's validation of what you do. I know that you like that, but I will say it again. I say this whether you're around or not. I say all this. It's all the same. I just believe in very strongly about the power of marketing, both as a tool to sell houses and a tool to differentiate yourself.
Thank you.
Important.
Let's talk about today's market. It's confusing between shortage of inventory. How agents get affected? What are they struggling about? How you help them? And let's just talk about your particular company and your agents that you are seeing every day. What would you share with us?
I think the first role of a broker in these kinds of circumstances is to calm everybody down, because you can get this, you see articles in the media, and the media just has a very heightened, polarized view of the market, whether it's good or bad. So when it's going well, they're like shooting out. Usually when it's going well, then there's all the articles about why you should FSBO your home, because why do you need an agent? And so that's what gets everybody crazy. And all the bidding wars, people are losing, things like that. And then if the market's slow, it's like really slow. If it's hot, it's super hot. If it's cold, it's super cold. And most of the time it's somewhere, the media oversays it, so over amplifies it. And so that affects agent moods. And it's important to keep them focused and keep them, keep them working. And so we do a lot of that. I mean, we've done a seminar called "The Market is Changing, Are You Changing with It?" And I look back, we did it in 2006, and then we did it again in 2013-14, and we did it again this summer. And just to basically say, okay, the market's changing, what are you doing to change with it? And just adapting. As the market shifts, what are some of the things you got to do differently? Like telling them 5 years ago that you have to be prepared for bidding wars, and you got to put your best foot forward as a buyer, and as a seller you have to. Now we're telling them, well, a lot of these agents they've lost their ability to have long relationships with sellers, because their relationships with sellers last for a month and the house sells. So you got to pace yourself that you have something to talk to them about every week, so that you have something to reach out to them about. You got to service that client over a longer period of time. So it's things like that. But I just think that there's a lot of misconception about that. There's a lot of fear out there, I think, about the market changing, which there's no reason to be afraid of this. The market, it's correcting a little bit. We're back to maybe where it was a couple of years ago. But a couple of years ago it wasn't terrible. But everybody has the specter of 2008, 2009 hanging over them. And it's nowhere, nothing's going to happen like 2008, 2009. 2008, 2009 was a once in a lifetime event. I'll just give you one quick reason. Back then, most people, a large plurality of mortgages were adjustable rate mortgages, usually short-term adjustables. Basically, everybody who's gotten a mortgage for the last 4 years got a fixed rate mortgage. So nobody's having their loan adjust underneath them right now to go higher. In fact, the problem we're going to have going forward is that people are going to be, they're going to have a house where they have a 3% interest rate and they're like, well, I should never move. Like, it's the never moves that hurt our industry. But everyone's saying, oh, the market, it's not as good as it was last year. Yes, last year was the best year ever. The year before was the best year ever before last year. Mm-hmm. And now we're back to 2019, which was like the fourth best year ever up to 2019. So it's okay. And we're at 2019 sales levels, but prices are 30% higher. So like from an agent perspective, this is fine. So everyone's just got to relax. Go do the things. Focus on things. We do contests all the time. Right now we have a listing contest. So it's like, go get listings. We need inventory. Go get listings, and they get prizes and things like that. We always try to have fun with things like that. So yeah, I think I think the market is fine. I think it's an opportunity for a little more balance, and people will complain about whatever market we're in, so I always just let it slide over. I mean, they complained about the market 2 years ago or last year, and it's like, this is like the best market we've ever had. Oh, my buyers are getting, yes, I know, this is what happens. Wait till the buyer's market, you're going to be like, oh, my seller's going crazy, he's been on the market for 6 months, right? I mean, there's always something to complain about, so they'll find something. But it shouldn't.
But what would you say about a future agent? Do you see the future agent being full-time, part-time, education?
I think that given the barriers to entry, we're always going to have some degree of part-time agents. And part of it is just the fact that it's a job where you don't have a set time schedule to work, so people can do it while they work around other jobs. I mean, listen, my mother started as a part-time agent, so I'm never going to disrespect the part-time agent the way some people will. Because she started part-time because she was raising 3 kids, and the kids got a little older, she went full-time, and then she became a manager, and then she became an owner, and then she started this company that is still around 40 years later. So people can build as a part-time. I think you have to be serious if you're a part-timer. I mean, these people that, if all you're going to do is you're going to have friends that want to sell their house, so you're not going to learn how to actually practice real estate, then just become a referral agent and refer those people to good agents to make sure your friends are taken care of. But I think that's fine. I think the agent of the future, in terms of who's going to be successful, we're certainly seeing consolidation, that top rainmaker agents are building teams that carry the excess leads that are being generated by these top agents, particularly if they're doing a lot of aggressive online marketing, get a lot of online leads. So we're going to see a lot of that. But I think that's market driven. There's a lot of markets where you don't see a lot of that. We don't have a lot of that in the Northeast the way they do in the South and in the California area. I will say, in the last 3 years, I've heard more people talking about competency and service quality than I did for years before that. And I've been talking about that for 15 years. I'm talking about the fact that we need to improve the quality of the service that we give to our clients. It's one of the things I think about marketing. We got to do a better marketing job. We got to do better negotiating. We got to do better for buyers. We got to do better consultations. We have to, there's all sorts of things I've suggested we change about the industry in both of my books. So I think for a long time, nobody else was talking about that, and now other people are. And I'm not going to say that I take any credit for it. I just think that I hit on it a little earlier than everybody else did about how important it is that all these people that are coming after the real estate industry to try to disrupt the real estate industry, they always attack it from the perspective of the real estate transaction takes too long, the real estate transaction is very complicated, it's very stressful, there's got to be a better way to do it. That's the whole ethos, the whole reason for being for iBuyers is the fact that they can do the transaction quick and easy and simple, and people are willing to pay, some people are willing to pay a price for that convenience. They're willing to take less for their home, which is fine. They can make, as long as they're making that choice on a fully informed basis. But we could fight that off if we did better work for our clients. If our clients came out of every transaction feeling really well taken care of, which I don't think we do as universally as we should.
Agents and community. I believe that agents are liaisons between community and the buyer, or between the buyer and the seller, and how your agents participate in their community. And you have a big territory. You were talking about New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and New York is huge and different.
Getting involved in the community, whether it's charity, whether it's public service, whatever it is, to me, I think is the responsibility. It's not even something that I think you should do. I think it's something you must do. This is the idea that you sell your area, your product. If I live in Nyack, New York, my product, if I'm an agent living in Nyack, New York, is Nyack. I sell Nyack. As much as I sell that individual house, I'm selling a community, I'm selling the school district, I'm selling the climate, I'm selling everything. I'm selling everything about that community. And if that community, if I can help make that community a better place to live and a more attractive place to live, I'm helping raise the values of the homes, which is more commission to me. I'm also helping making it easier to sell those homes, which is better for me. I'm helping, make it a better place to live, which makes the people that live there feel better about it, which means that my past clients will have a better experience and will feel good. There's just no end of value there. I mean, what I always say is that we live off the land, literally live off the land. We live off the land that we sell, the land that we live on. That's how we make a living more than anybody else. So I will do, we buy table. I'm going to 4 events in the next 3 weeks for charities. I mean, I do the whole circuit. I do a bunch. We're always buying tables, buying ads, buying for every charitable thing we can think of. That's in our local areas, and I encourage agents to do that. And every time I do one of them, I say thank you to whatever the charity is. If I happen to say a few words, I'll say thank you for making this a better place to live, because making a better place to live makes my job easier. And I really firmly believe that. And I think that agents can, if you don't want to give money, give time.
And you are on several boards yourself, personally.
I was elected to my local village of Nyack. I'm on the board there.
And that's a beautiful village.
It's a beautiful village, and trying to keep it that way. And I'm also on the board. I'm a vice chair of the local community college, Rockham Community College, which are both my local village, because I want my local village, because also I live there, so I want it to be a great place to live, not just for my professional reasons, but for my personal reasons. But also, having a good community college, that's an anchor of a community. It creates job training. It helps educate people who are not ready for 4-year colleges, if that's all they want is they want the associate's degree. I think that's an important thing to do. My wife is on the board of the local, essentially the Women Family Shelter. She's the chair of that board. She's been the chair for 2 or 3 years. She's been on the board for like 10 years. That, I think, is it's one of the things that we don't talk about much as realtors, like that, but it makes my community a better place to live, to know that we are protecting people who are the most vulnerable of our population. So I think, listen, you can do good for the community, and doing good for the community is always going to be good for you, just by raising the quality of life in the community. And also, listen, we all know, you get on a board of a charity, you get on a board of a foundation. I mean, I don't know how many referrals I've given out because of my relationships on these boards. It's in the double digits at this point after 10, 15 years of doing this. So it's good for business as well. You don't do it for that reason.
Yeah.
You do it for the reason that's good, but it doesn't hurt that it's good for business. That's a nice little thing that it does. You can do good by doing good, is what they always say, right?
Yeah.
So I really do think agents should do that. I encourage them always to get involved, and we have some agents that really do wonderful stuff with their local communities, really great. And we try to highlight when they do that as much as possible within the company.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for keeping Nyack Village so beautiful. We enjoyed, now we moved, but we used to come all the time and just hang around in the afternoon, have brunch, have a drink, coffee, whatever. It's
lovely. Anybody watching this, if you want to take a day trip out to Nyack or take an overnight, it's a beautiful place to walk around, quaint little Hudson River Valley village.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you, Joe, for your time. I enjoyed it.
It's my pleasure.
I'm sure our audience would love every minute of it, and for you to share your stories, it's amazing, and appreciate it greatly.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All the best.